Talk about envy, how it's ruining your life, whether you're the person who's envious or you're the person who's envied. Hi, I'm Chris Burke. Welcome to Healing from A to Z with Masterful You and KB. Yeah, envy, it's funny doing research on this topic just in terms of how it's defined. I discovered that envy has played a huge role in my life, both from me being the envious person and the person who was envied. And I just thought, wow, if I had understood that it wasn't kind of garden variety jealousy, but that it was envy. And that we've actually been warned, right? For thousands of years, we've been warned about the dangers of envy. Why? Because there are three stages to it. The first stage is where you actually try to ruin the reputation of the other person, where you talk behind their back, where you're saying, oh, you know what, they think they're all that and they're not, or whatever it is that you're saying that's derogatory. The second stage is that you actually feel joy when somebody else fails, or you feel sadness when somebody else succeeds. I call this the sliding scale of judgment. So I've been calling it that for years without realizing that envy was kind of at the roots of this. But the sliding scale of judgment says that if I think you and I are about the same, and then you do something that makes me think you're now better than me, then I feel that I've lowered. It's like Einstein's theory of relativity. Everything is relative, right? So there is no hard and fast truth that we are equal. There's also not a hard and fast truth that somebody is above or below. I mean, it's just a perception. It's a belief. And so when I perceive you to have improved in status, then I see myself as having been lowered, even though nothing has changed. Nothing has actually changed that would change my experience other than my perception, right? So it's really dangerous. Now my experience is being affected by this idea that somebody else is somehow now better, which means that I am now worse. How we see ourselves has lowered. The third stage of envy is anger, hatred, right? Because whether the person succeeded or failed, we end up processing this envy for them, our feelings for them, and the way that we start to feel in comparison, and we start processing that, and it turns into hatred. And we start feeling like, oh my God, I hate that person. I can't stand them. I can't stand to be in the same room with them. I actually had an experience a few years ago where I walked into a room and it was a public event, and I walked into the room and I sat down, and there was only one other person in the room, and I said hello to her, and she got up and she walked out of the room, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I can see now that that was envy, right? Because she'd gotten to the place where she actually hated me. Had I done anything? No, I hadn't done anything other than showed up with optimism into a project where a lot of community members had been dumping time and energy, and they were feeling burned out, and I showed up feeling happy and optimistic, and we can do this. And that made people, I now understand, envious. So if you are in a position where you wonder why people can be mean to you, and we were talking about this in class yesterday in Own Your Influence, we were talking about wondering when we were younger why people were being mean. Why would people be mean when being nice was such a better experience? And of course, we've learned since it's because we feel insecure. When people feel insecure, they feel threatened by other people. So everything we do at Masterful You is about making you connect with your own brilliance, your own mastery, so that you can realize, hey, being in my skin is great. I can do whatever it is that I want to do. I can create whatever experience I value. You can learn how to create the experiences that you value. And then you can be thrilled for other people who are creating experiences that they value. And you can be indifferent to the fact that people are, how they are perceiving you. Because that's their business going on in their mind. You don't need to engage with that. So this is really about freedom to experience and create a life that you love. Okay, so we can do an exercise now to kind of get us going on that path. But first, I'm going to ask you, if you're getting some value out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe. We need to start working together to create a world where people are learning what it is they need to know in order to be happy and healthy. Because if we look around today, we can see that is not what's happening, not certainly in the mainstream. So we want to change that stream and create a brand new one where people do have the education, the community, the currency, and the wellness that they need in order to enjoy being human. That's what this is all about. Okay, let's do that exercise. Starting with name 3 people that you have been envious of in the past. Yeah, hard one, right? Or it might be 3 people that you're envious of right now. Be really honest with yourself, because yes, we can be ashamed of feeling envious, but if we feel ashamed of it and then we walk away, we avoid exploring our envy, then we just keep carrying the envy and we just keep being batted around by it, right? So it's much better to say, okay, I feel a little bit ashamed, but I'm going in. I'm going to do something that's going to benefit me. I'm going to heal myself so that I don't need to carry these uncomfortable feelings anymore, these damaging feelings. Okay, and then we're going to list 3 people who have been envious of us in the past or currently. Think about 3 people who are just not kind to you, who whisper behind your back, who are hoping for your failure, and it's kind of obvious. Write down 3 people, and if you don't have 3 people, hurrah. That's fantastic. But if you're doing this work, my guess is you do, and you know who they are. All right, now let's put a circle around that. This is your starting point. This is what envy currently means to you. And what you're saying is, I'm having this experience of envy. This is my current experience of envy. And I'm going to change that. Right? I'm going to change my experience. And how I'm going to do that is by getting to know myself better. So the first thing we're going to do is find out on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being it's very difficult to get out of bed in the morning because the envy is just eating me up. And 10 being, I'm at peace. I know everything is working just as it should. Where are you in your envy experience at this moment? Write that number down. This is an intuitive exercise. Whatever comes to you is correct. Trust it. There's a lot of learning to trust ourselves here, reconnecting with what's going on inside, that inner intelligence, and learning to trust it. Okay, now we're going to interview that experience. We're going to say, when I am at whatever number you chose, I think what? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? What are the feelings that you're having? How do you feel at that experience level? What are you saying and doing to yourself and to others? So think about the internal dialogue. What do? Do you avoid going to public events because somebody might be there where there's an envy situation? Have you changed careers? I meet a lot of people in class who left their lifelong careers and envy was a driving force in that. All right, so just pay attention to what's happening where envy is playing a role. It can be shocking to find out how much of an impact it's having. Once we heal that, we're free from that. We can have a different experience. Okay, what do you sense in your body? So just travel along with your focus, your awareness along your body, and just notice, is there tension anywhere? When you start talking about this, do you notice your stomach gets tight? Do you notice that Your jaw clenches. These are some of the common ones. Go all the way down to your toes. Notice, are your toes curling? There can be tension anywhere in your body, and that is a signal that this topic of envy is bringing up some emotion in you, which means that you're having this experience. There is a part of you that's saying, yep, we're aware of this. Okay, so honor that. And the last step is, what do you know? What do you know is true about this envy experience at this level? How is it affecting you? What do you know is true? Okay, take some time with those exercises. Come back to them if you need to. Then we're going to move on to where you're going. I always say, and I'm sorry if you're getting sick of hearing it, but I always say, because it's important, we have to start with the truth of where we are. That's why we do this exercise. In order to move to where we want to go, we need to actually start where we are, and we need to take an honest look at what that is. And then we're going to set our destination, and then you will have the ability to continue to use this scale and say, where am I? Am I still at the number that I started at? Have I moved all the way up to the number that you're about to set? Or am I somewhere in the middle? So that will give you a sense of progress, which is really important in this inner work, because there isn't some external source that's going to tell you, that's going to give you the answer. This is something that you need to know for yourself. And you'll start trusting, because this compass works really well. Okay, now, setting our destination. Where are you going? Where do you want your envy experience to go? So 10 would be complete freedom from envy. A 7, 8 would be kind of, I see envy, I see the presence of envy, but I'm not emotionally affected by it. I'm still aware of it, but it doesn't affect me. It doesn't knock me down. It doesn't change my behavior, cause me to do something different than what I want to do, what I choose to do. So it's not driving my choices. I usually recommend that people choose like a 7 or an 8, because as we move along and our experience starts to change, we find out, wow, there's a lot of different levels of experience that I can be having that I simply wasn't aware of, because they weren't part of my day-to-day experience before. And you want to be able to leave room for growth. So now that you've chosen that number, you want to say, this is where I'm going. This is my destination experience. And when you get there, you can always move the number, right? You can always level up, as they say. Okay, so what are you going to be thinking when you are at this new level? We're going to define the experience, put a little meat on the bones, if you will, and we're going to say, this is what it's going to be like to be at this new experience. What will your thoughts be? What will you be feeling in these situations, right? So we're looking at these situations of envy that we defined. In those situations, what will we be thinking and feeling now? What will we be saying and doing to ourselves as internal dialogue and our actions, and also to others? What's going to be different? And then what will you sense in your body? What will be different? When you think about envy, what will be different in your body? And finally, what will you know is true about you and your experience when you are at this new level? Write all of that down. Fabulous. Come back to this later if you need to, or obviously pause the video. The last stage in this is to ask the question using the magic toaster. Our conscious mind, the tip of the iceberg, as Freud said, is really good at setting intention, which we just did, and asking questions, which we did. The unconscious mind is where those answers come from. When you say, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10, your conscious mind, the tip of the iceberg, is asking the question. The unconscious mind is delivering the answer. The number that pops into your head is coming from your unconscious. So we need to kind of build up that, that toaster muscle, if you will, or our trust, our faith, that when we put a question in to the toaster, that the answer is going to come. And the toaster is just a fun way of saying it, because then we don't really have to worry ourselves about what's happening or the scientific proof and all of that, which you can go get because it exists. But we don't have to trouble ourselves in this process of improving our experiences. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole unless it's important to you. Okay, so we just playfully say it's the magic toaster. I ask a question, I get an answer. I set direction, the path becomes present to me. As long as I'm willing to do the healing of all of the little pieces that are getting in the way, such as envy, right? If I see another person as a threat to me, then I'm not in my own experience. I'm not creating my experience. I'm externally comparing myself to others, and that will just lead you around in circles. So this is about healing, showing up for yourself. So the question we're going to ask is, what do I need to know or do to move on my journey from where I am to where I've chosen to go? Now that process will take care of itself. It's embedded in all of us. You will get answers. Things will pop up. People will tell you about books to read or whatever. That process can take whatever time it takes. I started using this process about 18 years ago, and I've uncovered a lot of stuff and done a lot of transformation, and I'm sure there's still more to go because there is no end to this growth. However, if you would like support and guidance in your journey, please go to masterfulyou.com and you'll find all kinds of free resources. And we also have our signature program, Own Your Experience, where you can really master how to use these tools, some other maps and models that will help you to show up in your skin in a way that makes you love your life. On Fridays, Judy Forder and I do a live Q&A. So if you put your questions down below, or if you show up live, we will answer you. We're there on YouTube, and the link to that is down below. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for spending your precious time with me today, and most of all, thank you for being you.